this is another loss for ESPN, but it is a gain for literally the rest of the world, because now you're going to see the true Sam Ponder.
Sage Steele sounding off on the firing of ESPN's Sam Ponder. The network claims it's due to budget cuts, but Ponder was outspoken on the fight for fairness in women's sports. Michelle Tafoya is a former NFL sideline reporter. She joins us now. Here's something that Ponder tweeted in 2023. Call me whatever names you want, but it doesn't change the fact that it is inherently unfair for biological males to compete in female sports. It's literally the reason they were separate in the first place and the reason we need Title IX. Now, to me, that feels like common sense for a lot of people. I work at a place where I can say what I think about anything at any time, and they back me up. What did she do that was wrong? And do you believe that it was just budget cuts?
I don't believe that anything is just budget cuts anymore. I think that they clearly wanted to find an off-ramp for Sam. What's troubling to me is the timing. This is 3 weeks before the NFL season begins. Her show, Sunday NFL Countdown, is coming off its best ratings year in quite some time. So I don't know why they would do this so close to the season and bring so much attention unless they want to bring in the next host and give that host a lot of attention. But what Sam said in that tweet was so reasonable. And by the way, Kirk Herbstreit, another ESPN announcer, also does the NFL on Amazon this week, said, I'm tired of being quiet about this. Men don't belong in women's sports. It is a majority opinion in this country. There's a USA Today columnist named Nancy Armour who came out after Sam and said she's a bigot, that she's just Sam Ponder is the furthest thing from a bigot that I've ever met. So this is mistreatment again. It kind of rings the same as what happened to Sage Steele. And, you know, I don't know what to make of it. Now, Robert Griffith III was also fired the same day. African-American former football player, who both of them had time left on their contracts. So those contracts will have to be bought out. And as I understand, ESPN will just use that as a tax write-off, Dana.
So I'm conflicted, right? And I'm going to look at this from both lenses. I'm going to look at it from a business perspective, and then I'm also going to look at it from a social perspective, right? Because on social issues, they're saying that the majority of the people actually are for separation of men and women in sports. But at the same time, you can't have one foot in and one foot out when you're advocating for an entire community of people of being able to do what they want to do. And then you say when it affects you, and I'm not talking about Sam Ponder in particular. I'm going to talk about her in a minute. And you say in particular, well, I don't agree with it all of a sudden, or y'all too woke. No, once you let that genie out of the bottle, it starts to just infect and affect every single thing that you have going on around you. Now, she did mention that they did let go Robert Griffin III. And then also from a business perspective, I don't understand why ESPN would do this. Because if they have monies left on their contract in which ESPN would have to negotiate the buyout, then why would they let them out, especially, or why would they fire them so close to the NFL season in which they're coming off, similarly to what she just said, they're coming off a record ratings for that show in last year, and people are invigorated for sports to come back, especially coming right off the Olympics. There's nothing really happening except for baseball season right now, which for most people is pretty boring. Baseball and hockey is one of the fun things to go to, but it's nothing really happening right now. And then on top of that, you let go Robert Griffin III, and then I seen his tweet where he was basically saying that he got fired on his day off, similar to Friday, right? But it doesn't make sense from a business perspective. What I will say, though, is I'm thankful that I'm not dependent on a corporate entity to maintain my job, which I then have to play by their rules. I work my butt off. I hustle. I grind. You know we don't miss. We make sure that we live stream every day. And I'm even starting to get calls from different networks in particular. And I've been getting calls, but I've been getting more of them now that I've had a lot more visibility over the last couple of months. I'm starting to get a lot more calls. But even when we sit down to talk, it just doesn't make sense, because no amount of money can justify me giving up my platform, A, or letting them have a vested interest in my platform, and then B, them being able to tell me what I can and can't say based off of whatever happens from a sponsorship perspective. Now, I understand that there are some woke sponsors like Nike, which I don't even really support Nike anymore. I don't even wear Nikes. Like, I wear them because I got them, and I got some classics like the shattered backboards and the Fear Guides, but most of those is just like old school, and I still got my Jordan 11s and things like that. But I don't really wear Nikes anymore, and I stopped I stopped buying Nikes a long time ago. And there are some woke sponsors that is controlling the narrative, even when it came to who is going to be in the Olympics in the first place. And so when you have these huge sponsors, which Nike is now suffering and Disney is suffering the wrath of consumers because you vote with your dollars. You determine what happens based off of whether or not you're going to invest in these places and continue to spend your monies. And ever since they had let Kyrie Irving go, which I thought was egregious because he never even said anything, he just retweeted a tweet or something of a movie that he liked. I've been off the Nike bandwagon for a while now. And so if it's not just collecting something that's absolutely awesome and nostalgic that I love, such as the Fear Guides or whatever, and I like all of the different colors of those. If it's not something like that, then just cut me out. But I don't understand why they would do this at this time. And if you're telling me that they're so woke that they're willing to let this woman go, who her and Robert Griffin III are coming off some of the greatest seasons as far as ratings is concerned, is weird. Let me check out a little bit more of what they're saying, and then we're going to come back and give our final thoughts.
Jennifer Say said this, that ESPN got rid of Sam Ponder, the only female sportscaster to stand up for women's sports and female athletes. Nike is silent on protecting women's sports while pretending to care about female athletes. The sports establishment is cowardly and corrupt. They choose wokeness over women every time. We love women who stand up and speak the truth, even when, especially when, there's a personal cost. That's integrity. And thank you. What's amazing to me, Michelle, and I don't think you and I have ever had a chance to talk about this, but I imagine we think the same. Think about all these women who have succeeded in sports because there was a separation.
Yes.
For a reason, right? And they're wildly successful.
Yeah.
They've made a lot of money. They are great leaders. People look up to them. And they have the power to say something to stick up for these women's sports, like in Title IX. Why don't they?
And I don't know. I've talked to men and women in sports who are still in it, right? And they have said, I got to be careful about my brand, is what I have heard from most of them. So that's troubling to me. That's why I'm so glad that Kirk Herbstreit spoke out this week on Dan Dockich on Outkick, because I think he is now opening the door for others to follow suit. This is such basic common sense. This has nothing to do with bigotry. It has to do with fairness and biology, by the way.
Wouldn't it be a great question for Kamala Harris to answer?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to give the reasons why she believes one way or the other. I think that's extremely important, because no one is trying to deny a transgender athlete's ability to compete. It's just, where do you compete? In what?
With you. Let's break down a couple of points that they made. Number one, Kamala Harris would never speak on that because she cares more about identity politics and getting votes. And she's one of the people that actually was going over into other countries, including Ghana, in order to advocate for the alphabet community in the first place. So she's going to remain silent on that because that's a huge voter block for them. They're not focused on what's right. They focused on getting votes and getting in power. That's number one. Number two, I'm conflicted personally because I'm not sure if I want to sit there and advocate for women when they advocated against themselves to break up their own families. They align themselves with the alphabet community and this whole agenda. They continue to vote based off of how they vote. And as far as Kamala Harris, who was very similar to Biden, who obviously was associated with Obama, and his landmark legislation was not the Affordable Care Act or the Obamacare. It was him advocating for the alphabet community, and that's the thing that he continues to stand on. So I'm conflicted because even though I know it's the right thing to do, why should I sit here and fight the good fight on behalf of the people that fought against me only for them to get what they wanted, and then now they have to deal with the consequences? I think that women should be the ones at the forefront, and so as a result, I am 100%. I'm 100% behind and supporting this ESPN analyst that got fired. I have her back, but I don't think that I should be the one at the forefront, and neither should any man that said that this was a bad idea in the first place. I'm curious as to what you guys think. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Now, also, we got after hours where we're going to deep dive a little bit more into this. Oh, we're going to deep dive into it heavy. It's Friday night, baby. I love you. I appreciate y'all. Teach Hanley, 40% off your first order plus 20% off for life. I'm going to holler at y'all later. Peace.